Roth IRAs are the holy grail of retirement. Or so we've all been told, right? But what happens when you get to retirement and you don't have any Roth savings at all? No Roth 401k, no Roth IRA, no Roth 403b. All you end up having is traditional or pre-tax savings. Does that mean you can't retire on time? Well, in today's financial prop video, we're going to go into three major reasons that you might not need a Roth at all, why it might even be somewhat harmful to your retirement strategy, and what you can do if you don't have a Roth right now. Hi, I'm John Norberg, and welcome to the Financial Prop series. So as a financial planner working with pre-retirees and business owners, I see this happen really frequently. Someone is onboarding as a client and they send me all of their statements, and it's a ream of virtual paperwork most of the time that's about that thick. And I look through account after account, I see 401k, I see IRA, I see SEP, but one thing is missing from that pile of virtual paperwork, and it's a Roth. No Roth IRA, no Roth 401k, or anything else. And at that point, some people might say, okay, well, gosh, now I can't retire at all. Or I got to keep working so that I can put money into a Roth. Or what about that 5-year rule I keep hearing about? Do I have to work for another 5 years and then do a Roth? Well, hopefully today's video can shed a little bit more light on those questions, as well as, again, give you three big reasons that Roth might not be necessary for you by the time you retire. But before we get into those, let's step back for a minute and redefine, or just refresh if you're already familiar, what is a Roth and what is a traditional retirement account, and how do they work, right? So just as a quick refresher, a traditional retirement account, so this is your traditional IRAs, 401ks, etc., is a pre-tax account. When you put money into this account, it comes in and it is a deduction on your taxes to whatever amount you put in, right? So let's say you put $5,000 in, that means you're going to deduct $5,000 off of your taxes the year that you contribute. On the flip side, when that money comes out and distributes back to you, you're going to pay ordinary income taxes on whatever amount you take out. A Roth, on the other hand, works in reverse. Any money that you put in, you've already been taxed on. You don't get a deduction, right? But when it comes back out to you, that's where the very beauty of the Roth IRA shines, because you don't have to pay taxes on it. It doesn't matter how much it's grown. It doesn't matter how much you take out. That money is free of federal, state, and local taxes. Pretty awesome, right? But what happens if you don't have a Roth IRA? Does this mean that your retirement plan is never going to work? You hear all the time that the Roth IRA is the way to go. But what happens if you have no way to make a Roth IRA happen in the next year and you're planning to retire in 12 months? So let's talk a little bit about how the Roth IRA came into existence and why that also has a lot to do with the fact that when people come to my office, it's actually not that infrequent that they don't have any kind of Roth savings. And this might describe you, right? So the story of the Roth IRA goes like this. The Taxpayer Relief Act that came about in 1997. And as it was coming out, they were discussing what are some ways that we can provide relief to the American taxpayer. And it seems that, Congress actually did something good, because the Roth IRA came out of that. It was named after after Senator Roth of Delaware, and he was the fellow who put the Roth IRA through Congress, got that legislation approved, and ultimately was the main champion, hence the name Roth IRA. And again, because this is in 1997, and this is the biggest reason why, a lot of people never ended up taking advantage of it. If you've started your savings for retirement, say, in the early 1990s or the 1980s, as many of our clients have, then it might be a simple fact that, yes, you contributed it and you did everything right. You continued to raise those savings each year as you got a bump in pay, et cetera, but never actually changed it from traditional to Roth. This is a very common situation. People, again, come to us all the time with this situation. And now you've got a couple $1,000,000 maybe in your retirement accounts, but all of it is pre-tax. All of it's that traditional accounts. Again, 401k, IRA, whatever it might be. This is not the end of the world, and we're going to talk a little bit about why, right? So without further ado, let's dive into our three major reasons why you might not need a Roth in retirement. So reason number one, let's say you already have significant after-tax investments elsewhere. So this actually happens more often than you'd think. Once you combine your bank account and your HSAs and your joint or individual investment accounts, you've probably got a pretty substantial sum of money between all of those elements. Great news, all of those are after tax, or in the case of the HSA, potentially even tax-free vehicles that you can withdraw from. Now, the HSA is a little bit of an interesting beast because it is only able to be used in a tax-free manner if it's used for healthcare expenses. But the interesting thing is that once you do turn 65, you can actually take out HSA, which by the way stands for Health Savings Account. You can take out HSA amounts for any purpose whatsoever. Now, if it's used for healthcare, that's still going to be completely tax-free. But if it's used for anything other than healthcare, it just acts like a traditional IRA after the age of 65. In other words, any amount that you take out, you're going to get taxed at ordinary income tax rates on. But there's no penalty, as there would be before the age of 65, right? So again, reason number one is you have significant after-tax savings or other resources, essentially, in other types of accounts that can help you pay for unexpected or expected large expenses. A classic example of this that I like to bring up all the time with my clients is, hey, at some point you're going to reach an investment or a distribution that you need to take out. It's hopefully for something fun. Hopefully it's an RV or something that you can, take a vacation with your grandkids to go see Africa or some other country you've always wanted to go visit. But if it's not, we still need to be just as ready, if not more. If it's for an unexpected healthcare event, something catastrophic, that's even more reason to be prepared, right? And if you have other assets, other non-traditional, non-pre-tax assets, this is a great way to start that savings. All right, reason number two, you're planning to give a significant portion of your assets to charity. If that's the case, then a traditional IRA might be just fine, because in that case, you're going to be able to give to that charity or charities while you're alive using the qualified charitable distribution as an option. QCDs are great because they allow you to distribute from your traditional pre-tax IRA, 401k, etc. And it is not only tax-free, whether or not you itemize, but it also counts against your RMD, which is the beauty of the QCD. RMD, that's your required minimum distribution. Of course, that comes into play currently once you turn 73, and it's an amount that the IRS makes you take out of your pre-tax accounts in order to, in essence, get taxed on it. But if you're using the qualified charitable distribution strategy, you might not be taxed on it at all because it's going straight to a charity, right? And the other part of it is if you pass away and you no longer need those assets and you've still got a very large IRA, then that's okay, because if it's going to charity, or it's mostly going to charity, then that charity receives it tax-free and can use it for whatever purpose in a tax-free manner because they are a charity, right? So again, reason number two is because you plan to give significantly to charity, either while you're alive, after you pass away, or both. All right, reason number three is because you're prioritizing current tax savings now rather than starting a Roth IRA. This is a classic example. I have many clients who are in their 50s or 60s and they're still working and they're looking at retirement, but they're not quite there yet. They want to work a couple extra years, but they're at their apex of their earnings, which is fantastic. They're earning more than they probably ever have before in their lives. And yet at the same time, that means that they're probably paying more in taxes than they ever have in their lives. And maybe this describes you. If that's the case, then this probably isn't the best time to start a Roth IRA, or at least not to start contributing major swaths of money to one. There can be reasons to, for instance, starting that 5-year rule I mentioned earlier, which, quick sidebar, the 5-year rule just states that in order to distribute earnings from a Roth IRA in a tax-free manner, it has to have been established for 5 years or longer. But for most people in their 50s and 60s, being at the highest they'll ever be for earnings and therefore taxes, oftentimes a very good strategy can be to contribute to their traditional pre-tax 401k, IRA, whatever, right now and get that write-off. And then when retirement comes around, we put together a plan that allows for Roth conversions to take place and therefore allow that tax-free income to start building at that time. Because once you're retired, for most people, you're going to have a lower tax bracket, right? Meaning that any Roth contributions or conversions are going to be more tax advantaged than if you made them when you were, getting taxed at 24%, 32%, 37% of your income. But a common mistake I see with this third mistake is this third reason rather, is that if you do this strategy, don't let it be your fallback. Don't let it be your, oh, well, I kind of know this is the case anyway, so I don't want to mess anything up and I'm not going to take any action. So many people don't take action on, starting a Roth, whether or not it's a good idea, simply because this is the way that things have always been done and they're going to keep doing them that way. Don't let that be you. Be intentional. Have a plan. Have that peace of mind. All right, so one last tip, bonus tip, right? Or reason, I should say. One last reason, number 4. And that is because tax rates right now are near historic lows. If you look back over the last century of the American tax code, it's actually about as favorable as it's ever been in terms of the percentages that most people are paying on their federal income tax. Now, this may be the case forever, but most people I talk to in the tax world believe that at some point in the future, especially given the rising national debt, that we are going to see tax rates eventually start to come back up again. But as it stands right now, tax brackets are about as low as they've been for the last century, meaning that taking advantage of that in the form of allowing any contributions that they have while they're in their higher tax earning years to go towards a traditional account is a way that they've chosen to do that. So realizing where tax brackets are, where they've been, and maybe where they might be, is a huge part of a holistic and comprehensive retirement planning strategy. So if this is something that you've been giving some thought to, or maybe you're scrolling around on YouTube and trying to figure out, do I actually need a Roth by the time I retire? Let's go ahead and have a conversation. I'd love to learn more about what your goals are and find out if we might be of some help. Go ahead and hit the contact link in the description below, and in the meantime, I'll see you out there.